Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons. We're going to talk about how we save the world with Dungeons & Dragons. All right, let's go. Okay, so, Arizona, okay? Arizona, New York Times recently reported that Arizona has begun denying new home construction requests in Arizona because of climate chaos, okay? So climate chaos is very real. It's undeniably real, right? I live in Pennsylvania. We didn't have snow on the ground this year. That's not a joke. We haven't had snow on the ground. We haven't had snow on the ground in 3 years. I'm connected to an institution that pays for, snow removal, right? That budget's been zero for 3 years, right? Like every single snow we've had, you could dust it off with a broom. I live in Pennsylvania, right? I remember when there was 3 feet on the ground every year for a month, right? Climate chaos is real. It's not a debatable subject anymore, right? Okay, so America's in the middle of climate chaos. It's very, that's why President Trump was like, hey, let's buy Greenland. It was the most brilliant thing he ever said. And we should have bought it. We still should buy it. America should buy Greenland immediately. That was actually brilliant, right? It was a brilliant idea, right? All right, so Arizona is in the middle. So Arizona is outrageously hot. Routinely gets temperatures over 100 degrees, right? Like literally, if you're not careful, you could, if you are out and exposed, right? In Arizona, you could die. Like it's that hot. It's incredibly hot, right? So basically, Arizona is frightened. Why are they frightened? There's no water, right? Like on the West Coast, they don't water their grass. Like I live in Pennsylvania. We can wash our cars and still, and water our grass, which we do, right? Like because we're human beings, right? Like we're not Amish. Okay, so that's just like. Well, I'm sorry. Let's back that up. Okay, Amish are completely human beings, right? And Amish are very careful about the environment, right? But Pennsylvanians are not careful about the environment, right? We want to live like balled out modern people, right? Amish people they're cool in different ways. All right, so let me back that one up. Okay, all right. Apologies to the Amish on that one. But we do not share their sentiment of Pennsylvanians at the macro level. Absolutely do not share a love for the earth and environmentalism the way Amish people do. Right? That's my point there. Sorry, let's say that better. All right. So we want to live like balled out modern Americans, right? We want we want Ford Mustangs that burn, that get 8 miles to the gallon and got 20 dubs on them and a turbo, right? Like that's what we want. We don't want like environmental caution, right? Like we want to live like Americans, right? Full on modern Americans, right? Okay, so Arizona's like, we don't have the water for new homes, right? And so they're saying, they're choosing a path of inactivity. They're choosing to say no to new home development. Okay, all right. How do we save the world with Dungeons & Dragons? All right. So, Arizona is filled with politicians who never played Dungeons & Dragons, right? And so their answer to this crisis is non-player character inactivity, right? If they had played Dungeons & Dragons and the source of their wisdom was the legacy of Gary Gygax, they would solve this in the way a dungeon master would solve this. So if you ask an Arizona politician what to do about people who want to build new houses in Arizona, their answer is non-player character inactivity. We are non-player character entity inactivity. So non-player characters, the term I use for that is entity, right? Like you're the person who's off screen, right? Maybe you have a brief 30-second cameo. Player characters are camera focused. They're on screen, right? All right. So non-player character entity inactivity. So I'm going to say entity inactivity. Their answer is entity inactivity, right? They're like, I'm a non-player character. I'm an entity. I do nothing. And that's their answer. They say, don't build, right? That's their, so because they're not, they don't play Dungeons and Dragons, they're non-player characters, they're entities, right? And their answer is entity in inactivity, right? If you ask a dungeon master, I'm a dungeon master, the same question, you say, hey Scott, they want to build new homes in Arizona. What's my answer? It comes straight from Gary Gygax's wisdom, okay? Player character, adventure, action, right? Player character, adventure, action. So here's the answer. Oh, okay, well I want you to get 300 grizzled, bearded sea captains in California, Seattle, across the entire West Coast, right? Send those suckers up to, I was going to say Antarctica. Oh, send them to the North Pole, cut half a glacier off, have them haul that glacier back to the California coast, shove that glacier up and destroy literally 40, 60 miles of beach. I don't care, right? Right? Shove that glacier right up there. Chop that glacier into 1,000 pieces, and haul all that ice to Arizona and make a new lake. That's player character, adventure, action, right? And it creates new jobs, right? And it tells the earth, you are mine. I will do what is needed to have water and be cool, literally and figuratively. The earth is mine. It is subjugated, right? I'm a human being. I do what I want. I'm a baddie. I get what I want. Exactly like Ice Spice said, right? Right? We subjugate the earth. We do not conserve it, right? Player character, adventure, action, over entity, inactivity. That's how you use Dungeons & Dragons to save the earth, in my humble opinion. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. But the important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing and have a wonderful millennium.